Happy Wednesday, or sorry, what are we on, Thursday? Thursday. Happy Thursday morning, afternoon, evening, depending on where you might be joining us from in the world today. I am Meg Alexander. I am from Power to Fly, and I am so excited to be hosting another fabulous chat and learn session with all of you. Now, before we introduce you to today's speaker, I just want to go over some real quick housekeeping items. Especially important if maybe this is your first event with us, in which case, hi, we're so happy to meet you. Or maybe you haven't joined us for a while. So the biggest thing to know is that we really want y'all to be able to participate. All of these events are about you, about our community members, and we want to make sure that you all get the information that you come here for. So if you would like to participate, we want to make that as easy as possible. You can do it in a couple different ways. If you would like to, you are welcome to turn your cameras on, share your smiling, maskless faces with us safely. No need to be Instagram perfect, y'all. Like, I'm on day 5 of dry shampoo, like to just revive whatever the heck's going on in my head right now. We do not care if you are coming to us from your living room couch or a corner office. We just want to meet you where you are. So please do not feel like you have to stand on ceremony. We would love to see you, no matter if you are in a tuxedo or a hoodie, does not matter. Now, I will caution everybody that if you do have any concerns about privacy or anything, totally understood. Just know that as long as you don't come off mute during today's session, you will not show up on the live stream or the recording. So in case you got any questions there, no stress, no worries. If you don't want to come off, or sorry, if you don't want to turn your camera on, that's totally fine. You don't have to. You are welcome to participate by adding questions or comments into the group chat in Zoom. And I would also there, if you would like, I am happy to, you can DM me your question. I will ask it and keep you anonymous. No reasons needed. Totally get it. Now, today's session is being recorded. So what that means for you is you don't have to take notes. You get to sit back, relax, and listen to all of the amazing stuff that Tahauya is about to share with us. Now, if you, let's say that Tahauya says something today that is just like, mind-blowing. You've never heard it before. You're so excited. You cannot wait to share this information with a friend or a coworker or a relative. So how this is all going to work is in 1 to 2 business days, Power to Fly is going to email you with a link to where you can rewatch this recording when it's posted on our website. But if you don't want to, you don't have to wait 1 to 2 business days to get that email. You can head over to our YouTube channel. I'll share the links for all of this in the chat with y'all in just a little bit. But you can check out our YouTube channel. The live stream is usually posted there within about 5 to 15 minutes. Like, the recording will be posted within 5 to 15 minutes of the end of the live stream. You can search a huge section of our recorded chats there. And if you are interested and want even more, you can check out the website, our entire chat archive, y'all. Everything that has happened from the beginning of Chat and Learns to now is on our archive on powertofly.com. So I'll share links for all of that with y'all in a little bit as we keep going. Again, if you want to message in the chat, please feel free. You can interact with each other. Let us know, if your lived experience is different than what we're talking about. Maybe something else that you've tried has worked for you. We would love to share and learn and grow with each other. I did mention our YouTube channel, but we are on all the major social media platforms. We are at Power to Fly on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Now, our mission obviously is to fast track that gender and economic equality at work. But the other half of what we're doing is trying to get our free resources in the hands of as many people as possible. So if you want to help us with that, we would love it if you were to take photos or video as we go. Share it out to your social network. Let people know that you are taking advantage of these free resources. If you want to tag us, we would love to retweet, reshare, repost anything that you send out. Again, we are at Power to Fly, or you can use our hashtag Power to Fly. All right. Now, our guest speaker today is Tahauya Jackson. Now, Tahauya is an MBA and is a former people pleaser, overachiever, golden child, and trauma survivor turned mindset coach. Now, her superpower is helping women to become powerful, drop that superwoman cape that you carry around, and overcome your perfectionism and people pleasing to begin living a very fulfilled life. Now, through her select coaching programs and social media platforms, Tahauya is devoted to helping women shift their minds, reframe their thoughts, and show up for themselves unapologetically. Tahauya is a transformational speaker, founder of the global mental health awareness movement, Hey Girl Heal, and is the mother to 2 amazing children. Tahauya, welcome to the stage. We are so happy to have you back. Is there anything else you would like to share with our audience today?
I'm happy to be here. Before we start, we would definitely kick off by breathing. I know as women, we wear many hats and we're always in a rush and we're always doing many things. So we'll definitely get to breathing in a second once she turns it over to me.
Oof, love that. Love that. Okay. Last thing we're going to do before we go on and get to know or kind of dig in on today's subject. These are some of the main takeaways from today. So this is what you can kind of expect to get from today's session. But all that being said, we identified the main takeaways by looking at the questions that you all submitted when you registered. So if you are here, you took time out of your day to be here with us for the live recording, then we want to make sure that we reward you for that. So if you are here with us today, you have the power to drive today's conversation. So if you want to dig in deeper on, a topic that Tahauya mentions, if you're unclear on an acronym, or if you want to get more context or more details about something, let me know. Shout it out in the chat. I want to get there. I want to get all the questions answered that you all came here with, and I can't do that if I don't know all the questions. If you submitted a question at registration and you're not sure if we're going to get to it or not, ask it in the chat. If we're going over one of your questions, but you think we could use some extra detail or context, share it in the chat. I want to see it. Please, please, please feel free to keep the chat hopping. I love to see the activity that's going on in there too. Oh, Eleanor, you're gonna make me cry. Thank you. Oh, you're just so sweet. So yeah, please feel free to keep the chat hopping and let us know what you want to know. Some of the main takeaways you can expect to get from today's conversation. We're going to talk about reflecting on your role and how to identify your part as the main character in your own life. We're going to talk about redesigning your mindset and ways that you can unlearn belief systems and habits that no longer work for the new version of you. We're going to discuss realigning those habits to discover how your emotions and your environment affect those habits and help you create a plan to adopt better ones. And then we're going to discuss redefining success to free ourselves from that external validation loop and create a new definition of success based on what we each actually desire. Tahauya, I am incredibly excited to kick off. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I can't wait to start breathing with you and actually, present in today's moment.
Awesome. So before we start, thank each and every one of you for showing up today. I know it's one thing to register. It's another thing to actually be intentional about showing up and working on your personal and professional development. So I am proud of you and I'm happy that you are here. So we'll get started really, really quickly before I hop into the slides. I am a slides person. I think I got this from college and all those PowerPoints and stuff they had us do. But before we hop into that, we definitely will take a second to breathe. And when I think about breathing or talk about breathing with most of my clients, what I kind of want to put you in a mindset of is breathing in. So inhaling like you're smelling roses. I know we all love a good rose, right? And then exhaling, right? Like you're blowing out a candle. I know we have candles too, where we're like, okay, we got to rush out the house and we blowing it out, but I want you to take time to fully process and blow it out. So when I say inhale, we're basically breathing in as we're smelling roses. So you can feel free to close your eyes and we'll get started. So inhale, exhale, blow out the candle. Inhale, exhale, blow out the candle. Last time, make it a good one. Inhale, exhale. Okay, so hopefully you guys have felt some type of weight come off of your shoulders, or you're just ready to get into the learning space, whatever it is. I definitely want to get you the information and the strategies that you came here for today. So if you can see the slides, let me know. Awesome. Okay, so we'll get into it. As she said before, I'm Tahauya. My name does not sound like it looks. However, if you see the AU, it's more of an O. So it's Tahauya. And so we'll definitely get into it. She introduced me earlier. I am Tahauya Jackson, as she said, former people pleaser, overachiever, all that jazz. And what I do is my overall mission in life is I help women overcome past hurt and upgrade their mindset so that they can experience the big life that they desire. And also, I love anything pink. Y'all gonna see from these slides. I love anything pink. I love anything that's on the Starbucks secret menu. I'm a limited edition type person. Like I love exclusive stuff. Like I don't like the stuff that's already on the menu like 24/7. I'm like more of a like, okay, give me something limited edition or something that's not going to be around long or something that's like cool and we kind of work together to mix together. Like that's me. And I also enjoy traveling the world. I haven't been able to travel much lately, but I'm looking forward to it in the near future. My background is in finance, and I was an accountant for 6 years. I left my job in July 2021. So last year, I've been a full-time entrepreneur for the last year. And I share this info with you to let you know that it's okay to pivot, right? As you see my background, I have an MBA. However, I'm here today teaching you about mindset, right? With a lot of education and therapy and just educational overview. And so I also have an MBA that I paid over $50,000 for that I no longer use. So if you would like it, feel free to DM me after this training. I'm joking. Okay, but we'll definitely get into it. So we're talking about 4 steps to transform your setbacks into success today. So before we start, let's talk about setbacks. What is a setback? Right. And so I went to the definition for you. I have my own version. However, I went to the definition and setbacks are a checking of progress, defeat, to slow the process of, reverse, or to cost. There were 5 or 6 different definitions. But I wanted to give you those definitions because it depends on where your mindset currently is on what your definition of a setback is. Okay. And so we'll get into that a little later. And so I know you're probably wondering, like, how is this lady going to help us turn our setbacks into success? Why is she the person to help us? So I want to visually give you a trip down Tahauya Lane, right? Because overcoming obstacles is my specialty. But I would feel like a fraud if I didn't get on here and kind of give you an overview of what I've been through and just give you all these tips, tools, and strategies, right? So I want to talk about some of the things that I've experienced along my journey. This is definitely not a sympathy piece. This is for me to show you the journey from setback to success, right? So let's go down the journey, a trip down Tahauya Lane. So I was raised in a single parent home. Growing up, I looked for love in all the wrong places. As I said, my father wasn't there. And so I didn't feel loved, right? And so I turned to guys and men to feel that love that I was missing from my father. When I was a senior in high school, my little brother passed away. Years later, we realized and found out that my stepmother had something to do with it, which was very, very hard for, myself and my family. I was kicked out of college for having a fight while I was drunk. I think it was like 2009. I was date raped in college by my fraternity brother in 2011 when I went back to a new college. I had a car accident a few months after that, and I lost my long-term memory. I've been working on getting it back ever since then, but it was like everything that I knew from childhood kind of like just went away. So like I have key memories that I remember, but definitely working through that with memory therapy and things like that. I made the choice to become a single mom due to infidelity from my partner when my daughter was born in 2013. After that, I went back for my MBA in 2015 as a single mom. I racked up $45,000 in loans to go to a $55,000 job. Okay, we're not going to talk about that. And I spent 20 plus years achieving my way out of trauma. Right. So I was the good girl. I always wanted things to be perfect. Most of my time achieving my way out of trauma was basically my way of trying to get my father to see me, because he always showed up when I was doing good things. And so I was like, okay, well, let me always do good things, so daddy always shows up. But during that time and just the journey of my life, I ignored the way that I truly felt until I got into this personal development space and healing journey. Because it was more like, oh, okay, I'll be okay. I'll just get another degree, or I'll just get another certificate, or I'll just go build a house, or I'll just go do these things. As opposed to being mindful and just listening to my heart and how I felt. Last 2 things. So I broke off my engagement in 2017, months before going down the aisle. And that was a turning point for me, where I realized that I had attracted him from a broken place. And I really needed to take the time to heal and do what I needed to do. I felt like I had healed some, but as you go into combining your life with somebody else's, like that's a really, really deeper level. And my mindset was like, I only want to get married once. So this is the whole shebang right here. And so that kind of scared me, but it was like, okay, you really need to take the time to, heal and become who you need to be. And so the last thing is I lost my grandmother and my goddad at the end of 2021. So this past year has been me processing grief, but also just continuing to give myself grace along this journey. I'm definitely on a mission to turn this grief into greatness. And I actually stopped coaching for about 6 to 7 months this year to just basically heal, grieve, and do what I needed to do for me. So that's a little bit about me. And so as a mindset coach, one of my superpowers, like I said, is helping women turn their setbacks into success. So when you think about boxing, right, that's me. So I'm the trainer, okay? I'm the trainer inside of the ring that's getting you ready to go back out to fight and give it all you got after you've been knocked down. So that's me. And we'll get into, I just gave you a trip down to Tahauya Lane, but 3 mindset shifts that I had to make along my journey. I had to go from bad things are always happening to me to every situation that I've experienced has provided me with a great lesson. Okay. No matter what it looked like, no matter what it felt like, it provided me a great lesson to take forward with me. Right. The second one is I really should be doing more than I am right now. Right. The perfectionists, the overachievers, the golden children, like we always feel like we should be doing more than what we're doing now. And I had to constantly remind myself that mindset shift I had to make is that I am exactly where I should be in this moment. Okay. And when I'm ready to go to the next level will be there. And the last one is I'm broken, damaged, or a horrible person. Okay. I had to shift my thoughts of feeling that way to I was created to be the light in this earth. Despite the darkness I've seen, I'm powerful, right? Despite the dark things, despite the bad things, despite the setbacks, I was created to be light on this earth, right? And so kind of reshaping your mind when it comes to that. And so let's talk about mindset for a second, because like I said at the beginning, when I gave you the definitions of setbacks, your definition and perspective of setbacks in your life will depend on your current mindset, right? So if you are in a victim mindset, you're going to believe that you've been defeated, right? Or this was a cost, or this was a super bad thing that happened to you. And if you are in a fixed or closed mindset, so you'll see those setbacks as defeat, losses, or dead ends. Okay. And if you have a growth mindset, which we'll get into a little bit later, you will see setbacks as just a checking of progress, right? Or an alert to pivot, right? So it's time for me to go. This happened, so it's time for me to grow back to the drawing board. Right. Okay. And so today I want to talk about having a champion mindset. Before I get into the champion mindset, we'll talk a little bit about just your fixed and growth mindset. So your mindset is a set of beliefs that shape how you make sense of the world and yourself. So it influences how you think, feel, and behave in any given situation. Many of our mindsets were encouraged and kind of put together by our families, right? Just our mom taught us how to think this way, or society taught us how to think this way, or certain situations or circumstances taught us how to think or believe in this certain way. And that's why a lot of times I encourage people to unlearn things that they were taught that no longer work for them. And that's not a knock against the person who taught you. It's just you evolving and realizing that, oh, I can't use that information because it's really not useful for me and where I'm headed, right? Okay. And so just a visual of fixed mindset versus growth mindset. So fixed mindset is when individuals consider that their abilities and talents are constrained to a fixed set. So on the other hand, when individuals believe that they can improve their abilities, intelligence, talents, and their efforts, it is termed as a growth mindset. So we have the fixed mindset on the left side, which may look like avoiding challenges, focusing on proving yourself to other people, understanding failure as the limit of ability, or giving up easily. And when we look at the growth mindset, those people view challenges as opportunities. They're inspired by the success of others. They acknowledge and embrace their weaknesses, and they persist in the face of setbacks. Okay. So we've all seen, right, people lose weight, like a significant amount of weight, and we're celebrating them. We're happy for them because like that's a huge thing. Like you going from like carrying the weight that you had to get into your fitness goals and becoming this ideal shape that you've always desired. Like we're happy for you. We're celebrating you. But sometimes we see that same person a few months later and they've gained the weight back. Right. And so we're not disrespectful people to ask, oh, what happened? Because it's so rude. But in our minds, sometimes we're like, oh, I wonder what happened. But what happened is that as they were conditioning their body and transforming their body, they weren't transforming their mind to handle the transformation. And so that's why mindset is very important, to make sure that you are in alignment with the full totality of your transformation. And so We'll get into champion mindset. So that's one step up above the growth mindset. So champion mindset is the mindset of a champion. It's flexible and strong. So champions harbor the ability to cope with setbacks and obstacles, but they also have the strong will to succeed and overcome any failures that come their way. It is their strong belief in themselves or a higher power that keeps them mentally adept and resilient. So a little bit later, we'll talk about emotional resilience, but I kind of want to give you the definition of a champion mindset to encourage you to go a little bit further past the growth mindset to get to the champion mindset, right? And so I know you're probably like, okay, mindset, like, why are we talking about mindset today? Here are a few signs that you need a mindset shift, because when you develop the champion mindset, like things that come your way won't affect you as much as when you're in a fixed state of mind, because you think everything is out to get me. Everyone hates me, or, oh my God, my life is horrible. I can never succeed or do anything, right? You have a more so of a victim, fixed, closed mindset, as opposed to you thinking like a champion, right? And believing like a champion that I can overcome anything, right? And what's for me is for me. And so here are some signs that you may need a mindset shift. So you're feeling stuck, stressed out, super emotional, or overwhelmed. You're putting off doing things that will move your life forward. Your choices are based on the fear of missing out or people pleasing. You're uncomfortable saying no or setting boundaries. You have difficulty making decisions, slow decisions, or poor decision making, so indecisiveness. You have no follow through on your ideas and dreams, so more so procrastination. You're feeling unqualified for where you are in life, or this is the kicker, you're feeling like everyone is against you or bad things always happen to you. And so it's going to get interactive really quick. I want to ask you one question that I would love for you to drop the answers to the chat in. What's one thing that you will be doing right now if fear or money weren't a thing? Okay, so I want you to tell me one thing that you would be doing right now if you were fearless and financially comfortable, right? So wherever you would desire for your money to be, your money is there right now and you fear nothing, okay? So I know you wouldn't be sitting here right now on this chat and learn. However, I want you to drop it in the chat. What's one thing that you would be doing right now? And I'll kind of think about mine for a second. What would I be doing right now? I would definitely be traveling the world with my children and having a laptop lifestyle. That's what I would be doing. And so if you're bold, go ahead and drop it in the chat, because I would love to see what you guys will be doing right now. Everybody's traveling. Okay. We need to do a group trip. Okay. Because everybody is traveling. Definitely. Okay. Travel more and train my dogs more. Yeah. Travel. I would be like everybody said traveling. Okay. We got to get it together so we can get traveling. Okay. Power to fly. Come on, Alina.
Alina, you're not kidding though. That's like something we've been talking about, and I cannot tell you how excited and geeked I would be if we did this in person. Like no joke.
Awesome. Some people are sending me private messages. They said eating. Some people will be in college. Some people will be in Europe, living abroad. Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing that. I ask you that question because I want you to get yourself in that mindset of what you just shared, right? I want you to visualize being in that space right now. So whether you're in Europe, whether you're traveling the world, like just think about like your airplane, your luggage wheels rolling on the airport floor. Like I want you to be in that space right now. Whatever your goal is or whatever you would be doing if you were fearless and you had the money, I want you to visualize that right now. And then let's work to get there. Okay. So are you ready to silence the voice in your head, get out of your own way, finally trust yourself, and achieve your biggest goals? Before I move on to the next slide and dive a little deeper into this presentation, I want to know if you are ready for more. So if you are ready for more, I want you to drop a yes in the comments. Drop a yes in the comments if you are ready for more. Okay, like I told you, this is interactive. This is my personality 24/7. So yeah, this is me. Okay. But yes, changing your mindset is no easy task, but having an open and positive mindset is a game changer, right? Once you get out of your own way, once you tell the voice in your head, okay, it's time for you to be quiet because it's time for me to talk. Okay. You've been talking long enough. Now it's my turn to talk. Once you finally trust yourself and like develop that alter ego confidence, I'm talking about like Beyonce and Sasha Fierce. Like once you develop that alter ego confidence, like it is a game changer because you honestly, like, you just honestly don't care. Like, it's like, this is me. Like, I'm going to do what I want, not in a rebellious way, but just in a fulfillment way. Okay. So your personal growth is what propels the choices that you make for your physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being. So just something as simple as changing your thinking can actually change your life. So we're going to get into it. When it comes to mastering your mindset, one thing that I teach is following the reform method. So we've covered the different types of mindsets, and you may have identified with some of the traits, whether they're fixed, growth, champion, or a little here and there. But right now, I want to dive into my signature method for mastering your mindset, and it's called the reform method. Let's go. But before that, we have a truth for today. Many times we see situations as dead ends that are really obstacles, right? Something comes in our way and we're like, okay, well, let me not even try to tap the wall. Let me not even try to break down the wall. Like, let me just sit down and I'm defeated because this thing popped up and I can no longer get to my destination. So let me just give up. Or maybe I can go backwards and try that old life that I had before because now I can't see my new life because this wall is in my face, right? Sometimes those are obstacles. They're challenging you to figure out, how can I get around this thing, right? How can I get around this, or how can I get over this thing so that I can reach the thing that I've been desiring for so long? And so I challenge you to think differently. So instead of thinking negatively, be nurturing with your thoughts. Okay. You are the only one who knows you. And so when we think about just the perspective of changing the dead end mindset to just really seeing things as obstacles, I want you to think about some things for a second and just be truly honest, because no one knows you but you. Right? So maybe you were laid off so that you can finally start the business. Okay. Maybe the relationship ended because you deserve better and you wouldn't have moved on to more unless the relationship ended. Maybe you haven't been promoted yet because you need more professional development. It's not the fact that your boss doesn't like you. Maybe you need to develop more, and that's okay. Or maybe your kids are acting up because they want attention and they want to spend more time with you, but you've been too busy. Okay. So looking at things from a realistic perspective before you just basically cancel it out or call it a dead end or try to go back to something that you no longer desire, or you go back to the contentment or your comfort zone. Okay. So number one is to reflect on your role, right? So identify your part as the main character in your story or your life. Okay. And I want to remind you that you're the author of your story. Okay. But a few questions I have for you is, are you allowing someone else to narrate your story, or are you telling it yourself? Okay. And it doesn't always have to be a person, right? When I say someone, it doesn't always have to be someone else as far as a person. Maybe it's your limiting beliefs that are telling your story. Maybe it's your past trauma that's telling your story. Maybe it's your mom who's living her life through you that's telling your story. I don't know, but I want you to be honest, because this is honesty hour. This whole hour we together, I want you to be 100% honest. Okay. Who's telling your story? Is it you, or is it someone else or something else? Right. And so what parts of your story would you like to change? Okay. We can always, that's why they edit books, right? Before they're published, they're edited. Okay. They don't just write the book and just ship it off to Amazon or publish it on Amazon. They get people to actually edit the book, right? Because some things have to come out. Some things don't work for the overall arching theme of the book. And those things have to come out, right? And so what parts of your story would you like to change? Okay. And who are you and what do you actually want? I highlighted you because what do you actually want? Right? We know a lot of times when it comes to us growing up, our parents encourage us a lot, just depending on where you grew up. But we know one tradition that a lot of people have is their children going to their alma mater, right? And they're so heartbroken if their child does not go to their alma mater. But one time I thought about it, I was like, okay, so does the kid really want to go to that school? Or is it just like, I don't want to let dad down, or I don't want to let mom down. So now I'm going to go with what they want me to do. And so then that turns into, okay, well, dad's an engineer, so let me go to school for engineering because all of our family are engineers. And it's like you're basically living someone else's lives and dreams until you get to like 45 and you realize that, dang, I really haven't did anything for me. So that's why I challenge you to ask, who are you first? right? You have to know who you are first before you know what you want. Okay. And same thing when I told you about my engagement, like I knew kind of who I was, but I didn't know fully who I was. Right. And so me going back to who I was, now I know what I actually want. Okay. And so that's why it's really, really key. And so my question is, what's your role? Okay. Are you the main character in your story, or are you the stunt double? The stunt double. Okay. Do you want to be an entrepreneur, or are you just doing it because it's a trend? Right. Do you really want to get promoted at the job, or you just been there so long it looks bad because you haven't been promoted and you don't want anybody to see you in this same role that you've been in for this many years, right? So what's the storyline, right? And who's the supporting cast? We get to pick. We're the author of the story, so we get to pick the supporting cast. We get to pick the characters in our story. And so I want you to assess, like, is the supporting cast encouraging you? Are they supporting you? Are they helping you get to where you need to be in life? Are they supporting your sympathy stories, right? Are they allowing you to stay stuck and stay stagnant and stay in the same places you've been in all of this time, right? Are they elevating you to new levels? Are they encouraging you? Or are you both just basically at a standstill, and that's okay, right? So is it time to make cuts? It's another thing. You wrote the book, we editing. Is it time to make cuts, right? If so, who's going and who's escorting them out? And that's not in a bad way. It's just like, we can't keep everybody around us. I know a lot of us, especially as women, we feel like, oh my God, like I grew up with them. They should be in my life forever. But sometimes we outgrow people, and that's okay, right? You're the author of your story. And so number 5 is shifting your perspective, right? So working to overcome those limiting beliefs. So most of our limiting beliefs comes from either family or fear. Okay. And so don't only challenge your limiting beliefs to overcome them, but make sure you understand them as well, because they'll be back. Okay. So if you just focus on overcoming them, you don't know what it feels like in your body or what it feels like in your mind when you experience a limiting belief. Okay. And so start by asking yourself, what am I afraid of? Okay. And how am I holding myself back? And when it comes to reflecting on your role as well, another thing is to clean your lens. So shifting your perspective. Okay. And so the lens that I had when I didn't know who I was is totally different from the lens that I have now that I am fully confident and 100% know who I am as a woman and as an entrepreneur and as a mom and as a business owner, right? That those lenses are different, right? So I challenge you to shift your perspective. And so when our emotions are not in sync with our mind, the perception of things, as well as our ability to understand situations and make decisions, become dysfunctional, often resulting in distorted view of our reality. Okay. And so changing your thinking is not only to be more optimistic, but giving your mind breathing room, right? That it needs to grow, to expand. It's not about looking at everything that hasn't worked for you and being open to other ways that might. Okay. So that's a little bit about reflecting on your role. And I have answers to questions. I had a few questions about that one. So we'll definitely touch on that in a little bit. So number 2, now that we've improved our thoughts, let's move on to our actions. Redesigning your mind, right? So does your mind need a makeover? It's an honest question. Does your mind need a makeover? So everything that you were taught in life, like we just talked about, wasn't right, or it isn't conducive to where you are now. And it's okay to do and look at things differently. Take inventory of the limiting beliefs, the trauma, the fears, the heartbreaks, the unmet expectations that hold you back from being the bold version of you. And the question is, how can you shift your mind, reframe your thoughts, and show up confidently as you? As you. Okay. And so number 1, some tips for redesigning your mind is to step outside of your comfort zone. Okay. This requires you to be open-minded and sometimes unlearning, like we talked about earlier, the things that no longer work for you. Okay. And a key part of the self-discovery phase is to ask yourself, what do I really want? Okay. Not what my family wants, my spouse wants, my boss wants, but what do I truly want for every area of my life? And I challenge you to do that very, very soon. Okay. Okay. And so realigning your habits, that's step 3. So what does your habit say about you? Okay. We know what your desires are and what your values are based on your habits. Okay. So are your habits in alignment with your values and your desires? Okay. You desire a healthier lifestyle, but you're always eating out. right? Like, no, honestly, but what do your habits align with your desires, right? Whatever it is you desire, you can definitely, once you focus on what you desire, then getting your habits into alignment with that. And so if not, take the steps to change them. Like I said, you have the power, you are the author of your story, and you don't need permission to move. So forget what you've been taught and think about how you can perform today to experience the life, the love, and legacy that you've always desired. And one thing that I want you to get into a habit of is asking yourself, does this support the life that I'm trying to create? Okay, so when it comes to your habits, does this support the life that I'm trying to create? Your life is a product of your daily choices. Okay, the things that you do daily become habits. Okay, it's a behavior, and it becomes a habit if you consistently do it. And so 95% of the things that we feel, think, do, and achieve is a result of a learned habit. And so I want you to think for a second, what does your habit say about you? What does your habit say about you? Awesome. Okay. So last tip, we are going to redefine our success. Okay. So what does success look and feel like for you? Okay. A lot of times we miss out on success, or we miss our celebration stage because we have arrived there, but we never set the goal of the success, or we never set the feeling of the success. So we've been there for a while, but we just don't know that we're in a successful stage because we never set the goal, or we never told ourselves, okay, well, success for me looks like when I have $5,000 in my savings account, right? Success for me looks like quitting my job and becoming a full-time entrepreneur. Success for me looks like having a house on a 3-acre land, or whatever it is. What does success look like for you? And we talked about earlier, success for you, not for anybody else, right? So sitting with yourself, being honest with yourself, what do I truly desire as a person, right? What type of lifestyle do I plan to live and desire to live? And so everyone's definition of success is different, and that's okay, right? So stop comparing where you are to what you see, and do what's best for you. And when we think about success, we should always attach a feeling to it. Okay. Not just okay, well, success for me looks like this. What does it feel like? Right. And one thing that I told one of my clients today is success for me at that time felt like less anxiety. Right. And by getting to that stage of experiencing less anxiety, I had to prepare more. Right. I had to be prepared. I had to manage my time better. I had to find a balance. I had to do all of these things. But until you know what the feeling is and the end goal is, then it's very hard for you to kind of get the steps that are conducive to reaching that goal. And also, what does freedom look like? We hear the term freedom thrown around everywhere. Time freedom, money freedom, financial freedom, emotional freedom, all of this. We hear the term thrown around a lot, but what does it look like for you? Okay. And as you begin to heal and grow, your version of success changes. Okay. I want you to think about for a second, like when you grew up, like you wanted to be probably something way different from what you're doing now. Because I wanted to be a judge, and I am nowhere near a judge. But what I'm saying is that your desires change, right? As you continue to grow, your desires change, and what you want from life and out of life changes because you're growing and you're evolving, and your taste changes and your appetite changes and your goals change as you're growing throughout life. And so some people still think that material things are success. And if that's what they think, that's totally fine. While there are other people who view peace and true happiness and a loving family to come home to as success for them, right? So it's definitely up to you when it comes to what you desire for success to look and feel like. And so here are some tips. I had this question as well. Here are some tips to build better habits, habits that are more aligned with where you are and where you plan to go. And so number one is to get honest with yourself. We talked about honesty hour today. And so based on your desired lifestyle and your core values, what type of life do you want to live? What does that look like? So what steps do you need to take to get there? Thinking about that. And that when you're honest with yourself, this is where alignment and fulfillment begin. A lot of us aren't fulfilled because we're not honest with ourselves. A lot of us are not fulfilled because we are basically chasing what society wants for us and we're ignoring what we truly want. A lot of us are not fulfilled because we are in dead-end jobs that we said we were going to leave years ago. A lot of us are not fulfilled because we are not living out our full potential. Like, we know that we should be telling people that we're good at training so we can add something else to our list of duties at work. Like, we know what we're good at, but sometimes we second guess ourselves. Sometimes we shrink in spaces that we were created to shine in. Sometimes we play small out of fear, right? And so that takes you being honest with yourself. What am I afraid of, right? Why do I never raise my hand to talk in meetings? Why do I always allow people to look over me when I know that I was created for so much more? Okay, so being honest with yourself, and then looking at when you find out the type of life you want to live, you go into, what does that look like? Right? Literally writing it out. What does that look like? And what steps do I need to take to get there? And so number 2 is to trust the process. I know this is a cliche term that you probably hear all the time, but trust the process. That looks like being proactive. Okay. So some of us are so busy waiting and we're not working. Okay. So thinking about, who do you need to become in this current season to be prepared for the next season that you desire? Okay. What can I do now to set me up for success so I won't be set back again? And another thing is to also let go of the victim mentality. Okay. Everything is not happening to you. Some things are happening for you. Like I said earlier, things are moving around so that your things can get where they need to go. Okay. So last one is developing emotional resistance and resilience. What emotional resilience is it's an art, okay, of living that is combined with self-belief. So believing in yourself, compassion for yourself, and enhanced awareness. Okay. And many times when we think about beliefs, it's easy for us to say that we believe in ourselves from our head, but we have to make sure that that same thing that we're speaking, we believe it in our heart, right? So you can tell this person, I'm qualified for this position because I'm da 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 da, but do you really feel in your heart that you're qualified for this position? Okay, so making sure that your head and your heart match when it comes to your beliefs, and also self-compassion, being compassionate with yourself, giving yourself grace. One thing that my business coach said recently that it was real, but she said that a lot of times we give ourselves too much grace. She said we overflow the grace tank. Out of laziness sometimes, right? Because we don't do what we say we're going to do. And then it's like, okay, well, I'm going to give myself grace. I'm going to give myself grace. And then you're like 3 to 4 days in and it's like, oh, well, I haven't went to the gym at all. But definitely, giving yourself grace and moderation and just doing what you feel is right. And so, yes, it's the way that which we empower ourselves to perceive adversities, emotional resilience. It's the way that we perceive ourselves. It's the way that we perceive adversities as temporary, and we keep evolving through the difficult days and the trying times. And so this is a quote I found from Louisa May Alcott. It says, I am not afraid of storms, for I am learning to sail my ship. Right? So as storms come, as hard times come, as adversity comes, as just obstacles come, like, you're learning how to sail your ship, which means you're prepared. And I want to remind all of you guys that you have 100% track record of overcoming bad days. Did you realize that? Like, remember last time you had a bad day? You actually got through it, and you're actually on this Power to Fly call right now. Like, you're here, like, you overcame it. So always remember that you have 100% track record of overcoming bad days. You have the power within you to live the best life possible. So will you allow your mind to hold you back or push you forward? Okay. And so this is a short visualization of me turning setbacks into success. As I shared my story with you guys earlier, I created the Hey Girl Heal Journal in 2019. And since then, I've been able to become a full-time entrepreneur. I was ranked the number 3 business in UTA alumni, the college that I went to. I hosted my first event for Heal and Chill. I bought a house that we built from the ground up with me and my 2 kids. And Taraji P. Henson is now a supporter of Hey Girl Heal. And so I kind of walked you through the setbacks so that you can see this is how I journeyed to the success, but I couldn't get here unless I had a champion mindset and didn't, allow the things that happened to me to hinder me. Okay. And so tips to adopting the champion mindset. I'm gonna go through these really quickly. I know we got to get to questions. Is stop seeking approval from others. See your challenges as opportunities. Perform a failure and growth self-assessment daily, right? So at the end of your day, what did you feel at? In what areas did you grow? How can you be better tomorrow? Right? And so identifying opportunities to celebrate the success of others, focusing on rewarding your actions, and start using the word yet more often. Okay, so I'm not very good at this yet. And so what's one step, as we're going into questions, I want you to think about what's one step that you can take today to change the way that you view your setbacks. And as you see here, this is our Hey Girl Hill journal. If you are interested, it's at heygirlhill.com, and you can use the code POWER for a special discount. And here are 6 mindset books that I recommend. Will also be on the recording. So it's Mindset, The New Psychology of Success by Carol Dweck. Get Out of Your Head by Jenny Allen, Believe Bigger by Marshawn Evans Daniels, The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murray, The Compound Effect by David Hardy. That book is all about habits. That's a great book. And number 6 is the Hey Girl Hill Self-Development Journal by me. Okay. And so if you're ready to upgrade your mindset, I would love for you to start journaling with me, bit.ly/HGH free. And I am ready for questions.
Woo! Ooh, loving this. And y'all, the chat was hopping this entire time. Tahauya, just to start us off, I just want to say thank you so much for sharing that with us. You shared a lot of trauma in your life, and I just want to say thank you for trusting us with that and for being so open and transparent. I think it is very important for people to see that successful people do not just have a track record of success, right? Successful people have failed a lot because that's what we learn from. So thank you so much for sharing that. Really, really appreciate it. All right, y'all. Okay, we're going to try and get to a bunch of the questions that y'all submitted. I do have a couple of questions that were asked in event today, so we're going to make sure we get to those. But the first question I want to talk about is this person had asked, why do you think that we didn't learn this information earlier in our childhood? Do you think that something like having an underdeveloped or an undeveloped mindset could be based on the societal norms in which you grew up? What is your opinion on this?
Oh, definitely. Okay. So one of the things that I spoke about earlier is that our mindset is influenced a lot by our parents, right? So either our family or our fears, right? And so if our family has fears or they're not emotionally, what am I trying to say? Emotionally mature, or they're not at a space where they can teach us those things, then a lot of times we miss out on those until we embark into our own adult life and start our quest for personal development, right? Mm-hmm. And we're allowed to see that, like, okay, well, I didn't develop this. Okay. And so it's not taught in schools. Mindset is really not taught in schools. I think it's just a life coach thing that people have went into, but we really don't learn a lot about mindset. Life teaches us mindset. And mm-hmm. unless we go through things or we have people around us who care enough to teach us about it, it's really hard to develop the mindset until we get to a point where we're just like sick and tired of just, going through the cycles of life. And we're like, okay, I want to fix this. And then we dive into, our mind, which everything leads us back to our mind. So like our behaviors, our actions, our habits, it all ties back to your mind and your healing journey.
I like that. And I think, that was a really good question. Thank you for sending that in as well. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I want to talk about some of the signs that might tell us how we see ourselves in our own lives. So are there any signals that help us to understand that, like, we are the main character? I am acting as though I am the main character, or maybe on the flip side, if you're not.
Definitely. So I would have to say there's 3 S's. And you can write these down. So number 1 is speaking up. Are you speaking up for yourself? Okay. Number 2 is standing up. Are you standing up for yourself? And number 3 is showing up. Are you showing up for yourself? And when I mean showing up, I mean showing up as yourself unapologetically. Because when we think about the main character, it's normally like this big, bold person who takes over the entire story. Okay. And so that person is transparent. That person opens their heart up to let us know their story. That person kind of walks us through a journey. And so when I think about the main character, in order for us to be the main character in our stories, we have to speak up for ourselves, which means telling our story, having the confidence to tell our story. We have to stand up for ourselves, which means that like developing boundaries, firm boundaries, or just basically standing up to be who we were created to be, or showing up for ourselves, showing up unapologetically, outside of the trauma, outside of the fears, outside of the limiting beliefs.
Okay. I love that. I love, Eleanor's in the chat chiming in. I love a good boundary. And, I think that's a really powerful question, right? Standing up, speaking up and showing up, but doing that for ourselves. Like I'm really good at doing that for my friends. I am terrible at doing it for myself. Absolutely terrible. And I don't think I'm alone in that. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of us that are in the same boat. So I love that that's something that you want us to take from this. How do you say, how do you suspect, or dear Lord, English is rough and it's the only language I speak. All right. So let's say you think that you might need to make a change in your life. How can we assess this for ourselves? Like, how do you know if you are being the best version of yourself, since none of us have done today before?
Definitely. So I feel like the shift happens when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired. You're tired of being uncomfortable, right? And we know what uncomfortable feels like. Okay. A lot of times we wear those heels and we shouldn't have, or like we have the Spanx on and we're sitting down and it's like, oh my God, I'm so ready to go home. But you're uncomfortable, right? In life, not body wise. You're settling for less. You feel stuck. You're accepting the bare minimum and you know that you deserve so much more. You're being superwoman to everyone while neglecting yourself in the process. You're wanting more, but you're convincing yourself to be content because you don't really feel like you deserve more. And so that's kind of the shift part where a change really needs to happen in order for you to enjoy and be in alignment to experience the fulfillment of life, as opposed to just staying in survival mode.
Yeah. Ooh, that's very powerful there, right? When you're in survival mode, there's a lot of things that could be going really well and you can't enjoy them because you can't see the forest for the trees, basically.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I like that. All right. So a lot of people had questions revolving around the idea of perfection syndrome and being a perfectionist. A lot of people said that they came by it, via parental influence, parents telling them that you should do something to perfection because that's how you succeed, right? You want to keep getting better and be the best. How do you suggest we go about kind of pulling back on that idea of perfection? Because if that's the mindset you've been in, anything other than perfection feels like you're slacking, right? It feels like you're not doing the best you can and it's going to be noticed. So how do you recommend people address that kind of perfectionism if they're trying to distance themselves from that and don't want to do that to themselves?
Definitely. So one thing I had to do in therapy is work on taking myself down from the pedestal. Like I said, I was the golden child. Perfectionism was my thing. I was the kid who was in the room crying when I got an 89 because I was like, that's not an A. And so you have to think about the strain that perfectionism really puts on your life and how it kind of, what word I'm trying to use, when we navigate our lives through perfectionism, it's kind of like you're seeing life through like a fake lens, right? Because perfectionism doesn't exist, right? Yeah. Excellence exists. And so what I remind myself is that like, as long as you're doing your best, that's all you can give.
Yeah.
Okay. And so anything more than that is like robot or superhero status, and that's not you. So I just basically wake up and I'm like, okay, as long as I'm giving my best to it, I mean, that's really all I can do. But it's definitely a process to work through when it comes to perfection, because, it's like we want all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, and we overthink, oh, okay, should I turn this in like this? But sometimes we have to just hit submit. Sometimes we just have to realize that like, I've done all that I can. There's really not much else that I can do. As long as I did my best on this is all I got.
That's something that's really hard for a lot of people to let go of, that idea of if you're not doing absolutely everything, then it's not good enough. We talk about that at Power Fly a lot, about don't let perfection be the enemy of good. Good is okay. And if you want to revisit, revise later, that is fine. But like sometimes just getting it done is what needs to happen. Something is better than nothing. So let's lead with that to start with, and then see if the perfection level is actually something that's needed, or if it's just something you're killing yourself to achieve that isn't really necessary for, for things to work.
Definitely. And also thinking about how much time have I wasted by trying to be perfect?
Time and energy. Oh my gosh.
Time and energy, and realizing that you're striving for something that doesn't exist.
Well, and it's not like something that you would ask of other people either. Like I take on a project and I stay up until 4:00 in the morning, 5 days in a row to make sure that it gets done and it's perfect and it's exactly how I pictured in my head. And if somebody else told me like, I'm going to do the same project, but I'm going to torture myself like this, I'd be like, no, don't do that. Why would you do that? Yeah, but I'll do it to myself. And it's like, I'm not showing up for myself. I'm not standing up for myself, even when it's just me.
Yep, exactly.
All right, let's talk. The biggest thing that we're talking about, or that people had questions about, was comparing themselves to others. Do you have any tips for stopping doing that? It is very difficult, and I think it's something a lot of us do.
Yes. So when it comes to comparison, the way that I really look at it, I view comparison as a slap in God's face. So basically, you're telling him that the blessings that you have now, so where you are now, isn't good enough, right? Because you want more, or you want what someone else has. And so I challenge you to look at things from the perspective of it's on the way, like what I desire is on the way, as opposed to I've been forgotten or passed up. Because basically that's what comparison is. You're looking at something that someone else has and you desire that. Like we see Instagram and we see Facebook, like what they call everyone's highlight reel, but we don't know what's going on in the background or the behind the scenes of what happened, or what is, what this picture is that's posted. And so just thinking about a Netflix series per se. Okay. So you're on episode 2, like we love a good Netflix series. So just say you're on episode 2, but you want to be on episode 5, right? You're looking at episode 5. And so the summary looks so good. However, if thinking about it, if you skip to episode 5, you're going to miss the journey, the lessons, the scenes, and all of that that's connected, that's needed to connect the dots to move forward, right? If you've only seen episode 2, right? So a lot of us are trying to skip the journey and the process by comparing ourselves to other people. And it's like, okay, when you get there, will you even be prepared to be there?
That's a good point. That is, I'm going to sit with that later. I like that. That's good. All right. We only have 2 minutes left. I'm so sorry we weren't able to get to all the questions asked. Y'all had you brought amazing questions, truly. But in the last 2 minutes, Tahauya, what do you want our audience to leave with? What can they, like, if you leave today and you only remember one thing, this better be it.
Definitely. I'll answer one of the questions that I have in my mind.
Please.
Start listening to your own wants, needs, and boundaries. Love yourself enough to silence anything and anyone that causes you to ignore or sacrifice your needs, wants, and boundaries. Okay. Take some time to assess you and what you allow, and then think about what you deserve. Go get it and make the adjustments, right? And perfectionism does not exist. Continue to be excellent and strive for what you want. Think about what you want. That is my challenge for you. Think about what you want, and then create a plan on getting there, right? If you get knocked down, same thing with toddlers and kids. When they get knocked down, they jump right back up, right? Adapting that champion mindset to continue to overcome any obstacle so that you can arrive to the more that you desire.
I love this. Tahauya, thank you. Thank you so much. I have had a wonderful time on this chat. I hope you did as well. I can tell from the Zoom chat, like people were very, very engaged in this. So thank you so much, Tahauya. This has been wonderful.
Thank you, ladies.
All right. Now, don't forget, Tahauya gave us some really great information. This will also be included in the rewatch email. But if you are interested in joining her cohorts, or getting more information from her, please feel free to take advantage of that. We'll have all the links in the rewatch email that goes out. That is going to bring us to a wrap today for today's event. But again, I just want to say a huge thank you to all of you for showing up, not only, because I have a job because you're here, but also for showing up for yourselves. This is something that is important to you, and we wanted to make sure that we support you in that journey. So thank you so much for doing something for yourself today. I hope y'all have a wonderful, safe, happy, healthy rest of your Thursday, rest of the week if we don't see you that soon. But if this was your first event, thank you so much for joining us. I hope you loved it. I hope we see you many, many more times in the future. And if you are one of our frequent flyers, I see you. I love seeing our familiar faces and familiar screen names in the chat. Thank you so much. I cannot wait to hang out and do this again with all of you as soon as we can. So have a nice night, and we will see y'all later. Bye.